Hey, friends of Old Man Brad and friends of the Real Feels podcast. Drew and I are back with our update for our 200 Days of Horror. Are you ready for this, Drew?
I'm so ready. I'm excited.
We are to the halfway point. We're halfway there. We're living on a prayer.
Brad's living on a prayer. I'm well and easy into this challenge.
We made it to 100, which, because we're insane. I don't know why we do things like this to ourselves, but it's fun. That's all.
I promised myself I was going to take it easy, but as of this recording, I'm at 180.
Holy cow. You're almost to 200 at the halfway point.
I should slow down.
I'm about on track. I'm a little behind, but I'll catch up by the end. I am about half of what you are. Let's just say that.
You're on track. You just have those, non-disclosure.
Yes, I have watched some that I cannot talk about until a future date, so I cannot log them. Let's just say that. So I am right on track.
You are on track. You just can't report on them.
Correct.
You're good.
So we're going to kind of go through, we're at our halfway point. We're doing an update every 50 up until, I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I should tell people, if they're just coming across this, the 200 Days of Horror. We started this in March, and we're rolling through 200 days leading up to October 1st. And then there's a whole new slew of things that we're going to do in October. But we're doing 200 Days of Horror, hashtag 200 Days of Horror. So if you're on social media, we're not saying you have to watch 200, or who knows what Drew's going to end up with. He might end up with 400.
No, there's no way. There's no way I could get up to 400.
You're at 180, Drew.
I don't know. I'd really have to not do anything but watch stuff. So
but
we're just going to slow down a bit.
Just during this time, if you watch a horror movie, just put hashtag 200 Days of Horror out there. It doesn't have to be, 200 of them. You don't have to be insane like we are. But yes, we're at our halfway point. We did an update. We kicked it off, and then we did an update at 50. So now we're halfway, and we're going to give you our top 7 that we've watched in this 50 alone, just this 50, and then our bottom 3. Or bottom 3, then top. I like to start at the bottom and move my way up. That way you don't kind of end in a downer. You want to kick it off, or you want me to kick it off?
I'll definitely kick it off. So this was a bit of a disappointment for me because, Brad, you know how much I love Lance Henriksen.
Yes, you've seen a lot of movies.
I have. I've seen a lot of his work. I was fairly excited to see a 2003 movie called The Invitation, which is available on Prime. It says, when an author invites his friends to his home on a private island, the guests realize they've been poisoned at dinner. The only way to receive the antidote from their twisted host will be to confess all the lies they've ever told.
Ooh.
Now, I think, I don't know if this was during a downtime in Henriksen's work. And that's saying something because there's some bad movies with Lance in them.
Oh, there are. Have you seen those Pumpkinhead sequels?
But they're still entertaining, at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. This was weird. And I'm no prized ham, but Lance Henriksen, Lance looked puffy. I don't know if this was just a time where
what year did this come out?
This was 2003.
Okay.
It was boring. His acting even seemed weird and off with the pacing.
He was going through some shit.
Was he?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
This also seemed like a plot that seems very, I don't know, not so much like copy and paste, but something that you could find in a lot of different situations. Friends invited over. A secret is revealed. They must own up to it, or they must appease their host in some way. There's a really fun movie called Would You Rather with Jeffrey Combs. That's actually, kind of like this, but a lot better. I don't know. I found this one disappointing. The acting pretty bad. Almost laughable at sometimes. There's this pompous, daddy's rich girl character who has a dog, and the dog gets poisoned and kicked around, and her reactions to the whole my dog. Kind of like the lady in Snakes on a Plane where they grab the dog and they throw it down the aisle.
But that's funny.
Right? It's the overhyped reactions that made it almost so comical. So yeah, not good. One out of 5.
My first one on the list, this is one that I was actually excited to check out. I didn't get to see it in the theater when it came out at the beginning of the year, but I saw when it just recently came out on VOD, and that is Founders Day. I was very, very disappointed in this movie. It had potential.
It had such potential.
It had so much potential, especially with the killer. The mask was cool. His weapon, he would use the courtroom mallet and
the gavel.
Gavel with a knife in it. And I was like, this is cool. Your concept is there.
There were some good kills too.
There were, but it was such a letdown because I was more excited to see it because they came out with a film last year, a Tubi original called She Came from the Woods, which was a fun little camping, cheesy, I don't know, witch.
The witch collects the blood and puts it in the jars. Yeah.
That was fun. So when this was announced, I was like, oh, it's the same people. I'm in. I'm in for this. And the trailers gave it kind of almost a I Know What You Did Last Summer feel in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of let me down. I only gave it a 2 out of 5, and it was like, eh.
I think I might have also given it a 2 out of 5. One moment that was so, this is stupid. It was when the boyfriend died in front of the girl when he said, like, let's have sex on his desk. And then she runs out with her top off, but she still has her bra on, but she's like covering herself up and she's running like this. And she's just screaming, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson. I learned my lesson. And she's just like frantically running across the gym floor. It was beyond laughable. Some of the moments in the film, but you're right. It's disappointing to the fact that it had so much potential.
It did.
The twist at the end, I thought was very clever, almost predictable.
Yeah.
But I did love seeing the dad from Boy Meets World. Once again, I thought he had a good part. I liked him in it.
Founders Day on one of my bottom 3 for this update.
Now, I'm a big fan of possession films, and this one can be found on Tubi or on Freevee on Prime. And when you get a character coming in from Ant-Man or an actor from Ant-Man, you think like, oh, this could actually be really good. No, it wasn't. The Vatican tapes from 2015.
It's not Paul Rudd?
No, it was not Paul Rudd.
Is it the guy who tells the stories?
Yes, him. What's his name? Michael Pena.
Yes.
So Michael Pena didn't even save the movie. It is slow. It didn't hit the right way as certain movies that even kind of incorporate the idea of like, let's involve like the Catholic Church in this exorcism kind of thing.
Okay.
Now I can't think of the other one where like the girl visits her mother and she like pulls down her lip and she has like the upside down crosses in her mouth. Oh, forget that one. But that one's actually that one's a lot better than this one. But this one, I don't know. It was slow. I couldn't really get into it. I honestly think like with subject matter, Devil Inside is what it's called. Devil Inside was the one where she like opens up her mouth.
Was the Vatican tapes, was it like a found footage-esque type of film, or was it?
Okay, no. It wasn't really found footage. It was an actual straightforward movie. But you know, one of the biggest things is that like the cinematography in which it was filmed, it's weird because like it almost had this like not directly fishbowl kind of like lens going on.
Okay.
But you could see it. There was a clear circular view like all throughout the filming. And then the sides of the screen when you're watching, those were almost flared. It was a really weird filming of it, which did not help and kind of made me lose interest a little bit. Olivia Taylor-Dudley, who is, I mean, honestly well known for a lot of different things, like Onyx and the Talisman, Onyx the Fortuitous,
The Talisman of Soul.
In the Talisman of Souls. She was in Chernobyl Diaries, which I enjoyed. One movie that I think is hilarious is Dude Bro Party Massacre 3.
It's a fun film.
It's goofy. But this, I don't know. This just...
It missed the mark.
It did.
All right. Well, my next one is another current film that is currently in theaters that missed the mark, and that is The Watchers. It's you can listen to my full breakdown if you go over to our friends, the Two Peas on a Podcast. I talk with Gerald about this film, and
Shamalamalang.
it missed. The first half of this movie was great, but the second half, it fell off a cliff, and I don't think it knew where it wanted to go, and they rushed a lot of things, and it just imploded on itself in the end. So you walk out of the theater just like disgruntled and like, what the hell did I just watch? This was crap. I won't dig, too far, because there are some twists and turns. It's a Shia LaMouffe movie.
Now, is it him, or is it like his?
It's his daughter. It's her directorial debut, and you can see the family influence in a lot of it, especially the way it's filmed. But then you can also see her. She's kind of paving her own way. So I am excited to see what she can do next. This is a debut, so. Like I said, the first half of this movie was strong, but then it just kind of fell apart.
Okay.
So I'm curious to see what she does next.
All right. From 2011, we're going to go and we're going to discuss and this has the highest score of 1.5 out of my bottom 3.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. This is a movie called Inbred. Now, you have 4 young offenders.
Sounds amazing.
Oh, my gosh. 4 young offenders and their workers are going to spend a weekend in a remote Yorkshire village of Mortlake, which prides itself on keeping to itself. A minor incident with the locals rapidly escalates into a blood-soaked, deliriously warped nightmare. Now, that summary seems like a pretty good making for a slasher. About halfway through it, it really goes downhill when you actually start seeing the locals. One of the main actresses kind of reminds me of a British Rachel Dratch from SNL.
Okay.
When they start showing the locals, because the locals like capture them and they say like, we're going to put on a show, free entry for everyone. And like, I guess the show is where if anybody comes into town, they capture them and they put them through like different tortures and they eventually like kill them. But the locals like sit in a barn in these like chairs to kind of put the emphasis on the fact that they try to make the locals look like inbred hillbillies, like British inbred hillbillies. Brad, the amount of fake buck teeth that are like throughout this audience, it's not even laughable. It just makes it dumb.
So and then not so bad it's good.
It's not even so bad it's good. Some of the kills are good. It was almost going to get a 2 until this moment. But the head local guy, when he comes out to be in charge of the MC of the show, he comes out in blackface. And I'm like, oh, you lost it. It's gone for me now. So Inbred. Yeah, you can.
All right.
You can check it out if you want,
but you don't suggest it.
I don't really suggest it. If you're looking for a good time, I don't suggest it.
Well, the last one on my list, I know you and I have both watched it. I think we watched it on the same day last week. It's from 1976, and it's Drive-In Massacre.
Yay!
It just... wow. That's all I can say. It started off pretty strong. There's a kill at the beginning in this drive-in that I'm like, okay, all right. Because it's a drive-in grindhouse film from the 70s. 100%.
I enjoyed this. This one.
It leaned into that for sure, but there were moments it was good. And then there were moments where you're just like, can we get this moving, please?
You mean the 15-minute interview in the guy's house?
Yes. Like there were multiple times there's these 2 cops trying to figure out what's going on with these killings. But the interviews with people, like you actually see, it's like you're in the entire interview. It's like 20 minutes of the movie. It's just them talking.
It's not even like a cut to the question, have a guy looking around the house, cut to another question. No. Like, even while the other guy's looking in the house, you're still hearing the perfect audio of them in the other room.
Oh my gosh. It started with a strong kill. There were a couple other moments that were good, like in the warehouse where they're chasing the guy, or when the officers are dressed up like a couple, so one of them dresses in drag, and it's hilarious.
That's probably the funniest moment in the entire. Oh, he's looking. Kiss me, you fool.
Yeah.
No, get
see,
away.
I see
Get away.
how we are. We've only been married for 2 hours.
2 hours and now you're through with me.
Like it had those couple pieces, but not enough to really
save
it for me. So yeah, Drive-In Massacre was a definite miss.
It could have been a lot better. So we'll go off with the, I guess I should say, earliest film for the 7 out of 7 for the tops. We're going to go with 1994, and this is a movie called Surviving the Game. This used to be on streaming, and I think it was on Tubi for a while. A homeless man is hired as a survival guide for a group of wealthy businessmen on a hunting trip in the mountains, unaware that they are killers who hunt humans for sport and that he is their new prey. Now, the leader of this hunting group, Rutger Hauer. The man that they decide to go off and hunt, Ice-T.
It's a pretty good movie. I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but
it's not bad. I mean, I love the fact that I get to see like F. Murray Abraham. It's not overly hyped. It's pretty predictable as to like where the story was going. Obviously, it's just another most dangerous game kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do love Ice-T getting revenge on a lot of things. Yeah. Overall, enjoyed myself with it.
First one on my list of my tops was one that I watched recently for Tubi Tuesday and did a streaming party with it, and that is The Horror Express also from the 70s, from 1972. This movie, wild, people. This is wild. Mm-hmm. It's basically kind of like Murder on the Orient Express, but with a lot of weirdness to it. Let's just say that. You have Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, Telly Savalas in this movie, and it feels like it's all over the place, and the kills are actually pretty good. Like people start bleeding from the eyes and like everything. And for 1972, I was pretty impressed with it. I was into it and along for the ride. I guess I could read you the synopsis. Mysterious and unearthly deaths start to occur while Professor Saxton is transporting the frozen remains of a primitive humanoid creature he found in Europe.
It's a good movie.
I had a good time. I had a blast with it.
The next one I'm just kind of like get it out of the way because I already spoke about it previously when we covered the Primevals. And that is 2019's Get Duked. And so this is on Prime and Freevee. Basically, you have a group of 3 hip-hop inspired, like, little teen anarchists. And one who's like a goody two-shoes trying to get, like, a Boy Scout badge. They're trying to do a wilderness trek, and they're being tracked down by a mysterious huntsman. It's funny. I think I remember telling Brad, please watch it with subtitles, because sometimes the accents are a little thick.
Yes.
So you might not get the full understanding of what they're saying, but it's well worth the watch. Highly recommend. 3 out of 5.
All right. So next on my list, it was tough to go between a couple Tubi originals. There are 2 that I watched recently that were pretty fun, but I think one was just a little higher than the other, and that was Killer Body Count. It just came out a few weeks ago. Mistaken for a sex addict by her devout father, Cammy is sent to an isolated rehab center. Well, you know how these go when they send teens to a conversion camp, so to speak. But when a killer begins to hunt the teens, Cammy realizes that her survival and her independence are intertwined in the ways she could never imagine. This was just a fun teen slasher. That's kind of basically what it was. It was pretty basic, pretty straightforward, but it was just a fun time. So if you jump on Tubi, watch Killer Body Count, and just enjoy it. It was directed by Danishka Esterhazy, who also did the Banana Splits movie and what's it called? The Driller Killer.
The Slumber Party Massacre.
Yes.
The remake?
Yeah, she did the remake.
Okay.
Which was pretty good.
Yeah. I remember when the remake came out for Slumber Party Massacre, I agreed with our friend Brian, or Loy Sauce, as he said, it's not bad for a remake. There's a lot of Easter eggs. it has that made for sci-fi channel kind of feel.
Yes.
Without it actually having that budget.
This movie, Killer Body Count, kind of is that same way. It kind of feels almost like it could be made for TV, but it just feels a step above.
Okay. The next one is actually my only rewatch that I'm going to throw in the mix because I just enjoy it. And it's based on a short story, actually. So 2014's 13 Sins.
I don't know this one.
This one is on Freevee and Tubi. Drowning in debt as he's about to get married, a bright but meek salesman receives a mysterious phone call informing him that he's on a hidden camera game show where he must execute 13 tasks to receive a multi-million-dollar cash prize.
Okay.
This movie, I just think it's super fun. And it also kind of, it's almost like a sociological kind of like experiment, seeing where is the line drawn? How far will you go if someone is simply giving you money?
Okay.
It's kind of like the button in the box experiment where it says like, you'll get $10 million if you press this button, but if you press the button, someone on the planet dies. Yeah. And this, every time that he does a task, he keeps getting money, but the tasks keep getting a bit more extreme. But with it, the dollar amount goes up as well. The inevitable twists and turns in this film, I think, make it just a fun watch. I think this might be like my third time watching it. I think it's still a very solid little movie.
13 Sins.
13 Sins from 2014.
I'm making a quick pivot because there's one I just want to throw on my list. It is a movie from 2022 and it's stupid as can be, but very entertaining. And it is called Power Tool Cheerleaders versus the Boy Band of the Screeching Dead.
What the fresh hell is this?
This is a horror comedy musical. And it is dumb as can be. But it's got some catchy tunes to it. And you're just kind of like, all right, I'm along for this dumbass ride. Let's go. So...
Wow.
Average person is probably going to hate it. When a cursed amulet turns their rival boy band act into a screeching gang of zombies, a group of cheerleaders must learn to use their wits, friendship, and assorted power tools before a TV talent show takes a turn for the apocalyptic.
Get out. If this isn't Tubi, I don't know what
it is. On Tubi, yes. You can watch it on Tubi. Yeah, it's silly, it's stupid. You can see a lot of, not really references, but you can tell that they've watched things like Shaun of the Dead and other like things. You can just see a lot of influences throughout it. And it's just stupid, silly fun.
That sounds absolutely hilarious.
So, yes, on Tubi, go check out Power Tool Cheerleaders versus the Boy Band of the Screeching Dead. It's quite a mouthful.
Love it. Love it. Next up for me is going to be 2022's Shaky Shivers, which is on Screambox and Tubi. Shaky Shivers gets, I might have to rewatch it. It's a solid 3 out of 5. I might watch it again, give it 3.5. But the practical effects for it, the writing for it, it's just funny. It's a stupid good time.
It is. It is so much fun.
It's a little bit out there with some of the plot points that don't directly take place running around the forest or at the camp. Like some of the stuff that takes place at the ice cream shop.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, oh, okay.
But the two main characters have such a great chemistry with each other.
They do. They really do.
They play off each other so well. So like, it just feels like quick-witted and quippy. Yeah, it's an absolute blast. I love Shaky Shivers so much.
It's a fun little kind of chaser, slasher, semi-werewolf, 80s.
Oh yeah, full 80s influence. 100%.
Full 80s influence. It's great, guys. Screambox or Tubi. Like, honestly, treat yourself. Go have a good time.
All right, so next on mine is another one from this year that I just recently watched, and that is Abigail. And this is an absolute blast of a film. Done by Radio Silence, who did Ready or Not, if you guys have ever seen that. It has a full Ready or Not kind of just fun bloodiness to it. I really, really wish we wouldn't have known the twist to the film before seeing it, because I think that would have just made it even, like, elevated it even better. If we would have known that there wasn't a ballerina vampire, I think if that would have been a twist, I would have been like, what? But knowing going in, it didn't ruin the movie at all. It didn't ruin it at all.
No, it didn't ruin it, but you're right. I think if it almost kept it a secret.
Yes.
Like if people started dying off mysteriously while she played innocent and scared.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, what? Like, are you hurt? There's so much blood. And she's like, I tried to help him.
Yeah. But I get they were trying to market it to people, go, oh, what? I need to see this. And because the first half of the movie, it's very much like a heist. They're breaking into this house. They kidnap this girl so they can get some money, but then it all turns for the worse.
So it's kind of a twist on certain movies where there was a really good one called Whisper, where criminals kidnap a kid and they're going to hold him ransom. But then before they kind of realize it, like there's something off about this kid. And you realize that he's like demon possessed. And then there's another one where a girl is kidnapped and it's the same thing, but the kid one is much better. And this is just, okay, we kidnapped a kid. Oh shit, she's a vampire.
Yeah. And I think it's Alicia Weir who plays the little girl. Great job. Melissa Barrera is awesome as always. Dan Stevens is so funny in this movie. And Catherine Newton. Everybody loves Catherine Newton.
Yeah. This was a good one.
This has what I saw it in Ready or Not, and in this one. I don't know if it's like Radio Silent's little signature, the exploding body bloodiness that they do, because it happened in both movies, almost the same, the way they blow up. Just, it was so much fun.
This is a thing where I love where the response to vampires getting hit by sunlight, like direct sunlight.
Yeah.
Like full blood. Like, it's not like, oh no, we're slowly turning into ash.
Yeah.
It's just
boom. They explode into a balloon full of blood exploded. And it's like,
well, good. I am glad we had a crossover there. That's going to be my highest rating for Abigail.
Abigail, okay.
Yeah.
I have a few more rated higher than that one.
I'm going to go next with 2023. Netflix had a foreign horror that I found pretty funny and lots of blood and good kills. This is The Conference.
I don't know this
one. So
a
team building conference for municipal employees turns into a nightmare when accusations of corruption begin to circulate and plague the work environment. At the same time, a mysterious figure begins murdering the participants. So they're off at like a camp, essentially. And, you know, again, it's more team building, bonding exercises. And all the while, someone has stolen the outfit and the giant mascot size head of the little character that is going to be for this shopping center that the company is building. He's just offing them one by one.
Okay.
It's a good watch. It's enjoyable. Lots of blood. Good stuff.
See, I'm writing all these ones that you've said that I haven't seen down so I can add them to a list. My next one is another. The last of my group are all movies that released this year. So this came out in the theaters. It will soon be showing up on Shudder. I think in July sometime, I believe, but that is In a Violent Nature. And this is a slasher film in the perspective of the killer. You're following the killer around for most of the movie, probably like 80% of the movie you follow the killer. This kind of takes the slasher genre to a new level. I'm surprised that this has never really been done before, or at least like the way they did it here. I know there's been a lot of mixed bag between this. Some people don't enjoy it. Some people love it. It's very slow. There are many parts where it's slow because you're following around walking. It's basically like you're following Jason Voorhees in the forest. Is what it is. But the kills are awesome and they're completely practical. So, I mean, just that on its own was amazing. There's one that people call the yoga kill. That's all I'm going to say. Probably one of the top 5 best kills I've ever seen in a film.
Nice.
Definitely check out In a Violent Nature. It might not be for everybody, like I said. Some people think it's kind of dull. The ending, it came close to losing me in the ending. But Yes, I still loved it. The kills made up for it.
Yeah, my last one, because we both chose Abigail, is one that you kind of reassured me that it was a good time. But from 2015's at 3.5 out of 5, available on Prime, Freevee, Screenbox, and Tubi, it is the Funhouse Massacre.
The Funhouse Massacre with Robert Englund.
With Robert Englund and so many others. 6 of the world's scariest psychopaths escape from a local asylum and proceed to unleash terror on the unsuspecting crowd of a Halloween funhouse whose themed mazes are inspired by their various reigns of terror. Clint Howard. This could have been
amazing. Like, it's not bad. It's not bad at all.
No, it's not bad at all. But like based on this film, you wanted like 6 individual films just about these like serial killers,
to where they and then have them all come together in this fun house. I feel like this is what Rob Zombie watched when he was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna make 31. Kind of do that same kind of thing.
31 is so weird though.
It is.
But this is just fun. I loved all the characters. I loved Clint Howard. They're all insane too.
Clint Howard's always good when he comes in as some crazy guy.
He's so good. I just love him. He's looking, he's all like, officer, I tried to help him, but these tools, they're so inferior. They're not even the right ones for taxidermy. And she's just like, you can shoot him now.
And in real life, guys, I've met Clint Howard. He's a super, super awesome dude. He's just one of those dudes that just wants to be real friendly and happy and just talk to you. And it's so fun because that's kind of how his characters are. He's just like happy, fun, but psychotic in a way. Like the ice cream man.
That's how he is as the taxidermist. The guy who played the chef, I think, is also pretty funny. When he walks into the fake kitchen, he's all like, look at these portions. I didn't approve this.
Funhouse is a fun time.
Yeah, it could have been better, but I enjoyed myself with it.
So that was your last one. So I have 2 that I need to give.
Yeah, you got 2 you got to get through.
All right, so my next movie that it came out this year, it is a French film. It is called Pandemonium. Nathan and Daniel are caught in a road accident that kills them both. As they come to grips with their deaths, Nathan confronts his past and the consequences of his actions. Now trapped in the hellish void of Pandemonium, he encounters torturers like Jean, a disturbed child, Julia, a grief-stricken mother, and Norgol, the guide of the Great Void. Will he find a way to escape the torment that awaits him for eternity? So this is almost kind of an anthology-esque movie, but it's so good. It is just so good. I gave this one a 4. It's up in the top of my top list for the year right now, sitting up there quite high. And it's because you get these. You start off with this one story with these 2 men, and you jump into these other stories, and they kind of weave together different ways of grief, of death, of family, and it's just so well done, and it's so dark. Almost, there are pieces of it, especially towards the end, where you kind of feel like you're watching some twisted Guillermo del Toro or like The Cell. There were some parts of it that kind of thought of The Cell, not as colorful and wild, but it was just a beautiful film. I highly recommend Pandemonium.
You know what? I will jump in and I will substitute another movie in because I just want to make a note of it. A recent film that Bradley made very clear to me, Drew, you should wait on renting things because a week later it was coming out on Shudder. But that's 2024's Eczema.
And not eczema that you would get in itches and you got to scratch, right? Not that kind of eczema.
No. This is more like the exhumation of burial plots and stuff. So after tracing the origin of a disturbing supernatural affliction to a wealthy family's ancestral gravesite, a team of paranormal experts relocates the remains and soon discovers what happens to those who dare to mess with the wrong grave. Now, South Korea does a hell of a job with, frankly, a lot of their films. But again, as I've said before on, I think, a few occasions, there is something about Asian horror that just does a stellar job. And it's not like, oh, this is going to be done in 90 minutes. No, you're getting like a 2.5 hour movie because they want to tell you a story and they want to do it right. But this gets 4 out of 5 from me. This is I think, a really, really good film. Lots of good practical effects, lots of good CGI. The acting is pretty good. It's dubbed from my rental. I don't know if it's still dubbed on Shudder, but there was the option to have English dubbing. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. Still, for me, doesn't top The Wailing, but it was close.
Yeah, that was one that you were telling me I have to see. That's actually sitting on a watch list, but I just haven't watched it. So my final film of this chunk of our 200 days is right now sitting kind of tied as my top horror movie of the year. It's between this and Late Night with the Devil. That is The First Omen, prequel to The Omen. You know, everybody knows Damien, and this tells of where he came from, his incarnation into the world. And my God, Drew, I fucking love this movie so much. Loved it so much.
I would have added this to the list, but as I disclosed to you earlier this week, I was a bit intoxicated when I watched it.
So you need to watch it again.
And I need to watch it again because I only remember like bits and pieces. But of course, what I remember is like the shock and awe moments.
Well, of course. I mean, that's kind of what gets you. There are a couple pretty shocking scenes.
That is definitely what gets you. So I definitely need to rewatch it. It's definitely going to go on my list.
Nell Tiger Free is so good in this movie as the young nun working her way through the Catholic Church and the dark, this darkness at work. And what I love about this film is that it leads you into The Omen, but it also does enough to make it its own thing to where you're like, oh, there could be more story here that could be told. And the way it was just done, there are some shocking moments. There are your kind of, I don't want to say cliche, but there are a few parts in it you're like, oh, it's familiarity, I guess you should say.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's Ralph Ineson who plays Father Brennan in this. So good. Yeah. The First Omen, it's at the top of my list for the year right now. Tied with Late Night with the Devil, if you haven't seen that one either. So look at that. My top two deal with the devil this year. Watch out. Well, there are our, for this chunk of 50, we're halfway through our 200 Days of Horror. We're at day 100. Are there any that you've put on your list for this next 50 that you're like, I might have to go check out? I might have to put a couple of these that you said. I might have to watch them.
Let's see. Any that are actually like on my to watch list that are,
obviously Tubi's going to have a bunch of things thrown in there. You know, when I did recently, when we did our theme was 70s horror, I added so many films to my watch list from the 70s because Tubi has so much on there for 70s horror movies, and 70s horror film posters look so cool. So as I'm scrolling through, I think it was like, ooh, I love this poster. Let's add it. Well, I don't know if they're good or not, but we'll find out.
I know that I definitely want to go see Trap when it comes out. I don't know when it's coming out, so I don't know if it'll be before. Okay, so I can still get this. I can still get that done. Trap, Cuckoo is one that looks really good.
Also comes out in August.
You and I need to rent The Deadly Swarm.
Make Kelly and Killer Bugs. I'm in.
I mean, Dragonflies.
I'm really looking forward to A Quiet Place Day 1, which comes out next week. What else is coming out soon? Long Legs with Nicolas Cage is coming out.
Yep.
Very much looking forward to that one.
I still need to watch Infested because I watched Sting.
Yeah, that's one on my list to watch.
I'm not in a hurry to watch it, but obviously when Tarot probably makes its way to Tubi, I'll probably give it a watch.
when it lands on Tubi or one of those other streaming services. Who knows?
Whoever's going to get it. I recently purchased a DVD of Slasher Size, which features Darcy the Mail Girl.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm going to watch Slasher Size featuring Diana Prince, Darcy the Mail Girl from The Last Drive-In.
Well, one I'm going to start probably here very soon. It's one as I was doing my 70s search of films. I came across this series of films that apparently they don't necessarily interconnect with each other. I sent it to you. It's called The Blind Dead Saga. So there are these Spanish horror films that take place with these undead satanic Templars. So are there 3 films in this? There are 4 films in the series. There's Tombs of the Blind Dead, Return of the Evil Dead, The Ghost Galleon, and Night of the Seagulls.
So Night of the Seagulls is the only one of those that I recognize.
And as I'm going through, I found a list. There's some other films out there done by different directors and different times that kind of reference these same Templars that people call unofficial sequels in this series. So I know I'm going to end up down a rabbit hole. I know I'm going to end up watching more than these 4 movies.
I found an IMDb list that literally is titled The Blind Dead Saga, Bradley.
That's where I found a lot of these that they'll state like unofficial sequel. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll add that one. And then other ones are just like, it deals with similar stuff. So they kind of throw it in there. But yes, I know, like I said, I'm going to end up down a rabbit hole. I'm going to start with these first 4 and go from there. 70s horror, that's going to be my theme next. I mean, I did that for To Tuesday, and now I'm hooked. I'm hooked on 70s horror.
Hey, when you watch 70s horror and they have a rating of like PG, and you're like, this is not going to be PG.
Yeah, no. Especially if it's a foreign one. All right, Drew. So we'll convene again in about 50 days or so.
Sounds good.
We'll see where you're at. You're at 180 right now. We'll see how far over the edge you go in the next 50. Well, at least you have a cushion, so you can slow down if you really wanted to.
No. The principle is still to watch one a day.
All right, fine people of the world out there listening, thank you so much for giving us a listen. Make sure you follow either of our podcasts. Follow Old Man Brad. I'm out there anywhere you listen to the podcasts, or go search out the Real Feels podcast. Drew is everywhere out there too. Drew and the gang.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back in about 50 days for another joint venture. Until then, we will talk to you later.
Bye-bye.